Hi, I'm Alex Archbold. I've been buying and selling antiques since I was a kid. Over the years, generations of our family have gotten involved in the business, and I'll search just about anywhere I can to find hidden treasures both big and small. I never know what I'll turn up next. It's about exploring new places, seeing new sights, and having fun. And even though sometimes I get over my head, we try and make things a little better along the way. This is Curiosity Inc. Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode. I just got back from an hour and a half, well there and back, I guess 3 hours worth of driving to go look at a potential property that needed cleared out. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough there to make it make sense for me to do it. But I was able to find a few treasures and I've got those loaded in the car here today. So we're gonna unbox, unload, and discover what I was able to find in basements, attics, showcases around the house. And it's not a whole pile of stuff, but there's a few things that are interesting I thought I should share. So here we go. Let's get things opened up and show you what I found. Okay, first thing up in the very back of the trunk, I found this on the floor. You guys at home probably know what it is. The person whose home I went to, they had no idea what it was, but let's get it out and I'll tell you about it. All right, although terribly dusty, what we have here is an antique bookbinder's press. So you put your book in there, when it's being bound, it squishes the pages, holds them all tight, and you can do your binding on the edge and so forth. You can actually use these to straighten out wrinkled, crinkled books, magazines, etc. too. And it's just kind of a nice decorative conversation piece. It's really, really dirty. And I think by the time this video is over, I'll probably try and clean this thing up a bit because it was sitting in a wood shop. I think, judging from the fact there's a chunk of wood glued on there, that he was using it. The fella that passed away was using this to probably clamp wood together in his wood shop, which would work fine for that too, but that's a little bit of overkill. Maybe he was doing laminating or something with it, but really cool. The concept is you turn this crank, and that raises and lowers this pressurized plate, and that puts a lot of pressure on the paper, and you can really squish it down good. But anyway, neat piece to find kind of on the floor of a shop or a garage. So we'll come back to that and we'll clean it up a little bit and see what it looks like underneath all that. I gotta get the other box out of the car, which is, it's over on the other side. Let's see. Oh yeah, right, I got this whole bin and a box. Okay, let's get the bin out first. In the basement of this house, there was a massive train layout that was partially assembled. I mean, it took up a whole room. And I did find some trains. And these are just the empty boxes. I'm hoping that the engines are going to be in that box, but we'll see. So we've got some boxes for some trains, albeit the trains aren't in those. But when you see empty boxes, you got to pick them up because you might have the thing that goes with it. These are Accurail box steel ends. These are all train cars. Now this is HO scale. These are all HO scale trains. So we open that up and you can see this little box car. It's a kit that you put together, you build it yourself. So a little Canadian Pacific box car, and it's got its weight inside and accessories. It's never been built. And there's just a pile of these. There are just tons and tons of these unbuilt box cars and rail cars. So lots of train stuff in here, which is kind of cool. I pretty much grabbed anything that had a box. Oh yeah, this was there. There was a really old Byers flour mill, Whyreton flax. But this whole bag, you can probably tell what's in it already. This whole antique flour bag is full of antique marbles. If I could get in here and show you. This bag is really deteriorated. That's why it's in the Ziploc bag now, because it just would fall apart if it wasn't in it. And it's so dusty. There we go. It's been wrapped up for a while. Let's see if I can grab some. Antique marbles can be very, very collectible. That's a particularly old one right there. But these would all date to probably the 1920s or prior, based on the age of the gentleman that used to live in this house. So we're gonna get those dumped out. See if I can find myself a bowl, and we'll have a look at those. Okay, found a box instead. Should do the trick though. Look at that. It's all of them. Well, you got some ball bearings. People use little ball bearings as steely marbles, but there are some really unique and early glass, and I don't see any clay marbles. Maybe there's a couple. Clay are quite old as well, but I'll have to really go through these because I know that marbles can be collectible. I know that certain styles, like this is, I think, an onion kind of style, can be a little bit better than others, this blown glass. But I don't know what makes a marble just a regular marble and what makes one a $50, $60 marble, but I know there are lots of collectors for marbles out there, and there are guides online, so we'll do a little research there, but I would suspect that the more interesting ones are, of course, a little bit more collectible. But anyway, that's a nice little assortment of antique marbles. Set that aside. Now, oddly, this was in the basement. It's Lehmann, it's German, made in Germany. And you can see the patent dates. 1912 is the newest patent date on this. It's a wind-up dancer, but this would fall into the category of Black Americana, which there are a lot of collectors of. You would wind him up and he would do a little jig and dance. His arms are missing, but that's a rare early piece. That's over 100 years old. So even though he's missing his arms and what would have been just a little rod that went into, I think, one of the feet, or maybe up through the backside, and he would just dance around up there. So couldn't leave that behind just because it is a piece of history, and you don't want to leave that behind in a basement somewhere. Same thing with this. This, you can see it's got some dust and probably some, I don't know what that is, if it's mold or what it is, but the reason I kept this is that, or bought it, I should say, is that it's a vintage Westclock watch display. And so they did pocket watches, so this might have been a pocket watch display. Westclocks did, said the makers of Big Ben. This would have been like a store display in like a little general store or a drug store that carried a small assortment of watches. But how cool is that? If you do have a little watch collection, you could put them right inside of this once it's all cleaned up, of course, and make a beautiful display of it. Some of these things I will clean up by the end of this episode and show you what the difference is. When you see it, this is as I found it, and then you see its potential, what could be done. Again, some more train accessories. You've got these little vintage die-cast metal. These are HO scale cars. There's a 57 Chevy wagon, probably from around that era. And there's a Chrysler, about the same era, late 50s. And these are metal. This was kind of neat. It's a Matchbox, which isn't particularly rare or anything, but it looks like it was made for the Annapolis Royal Fire Department. So obviously, like a little promotional thing they probably gave out to kids maybe at a parade or if they came to the fire hall. So they just put their stamp on the back, but it's kind of neat. It is a 1960s Matchbox. There are some, these would be considered like not a lead soldier, but these are World War I era. And you kind of see the doughboy sort of helmet, the uniforms. These are a much older, much earlier sort of toy. That one says Canada right on it. So obviously these are Canadian-made metal soldiers. So you get them all set up and see how that looks. And is this Britain's? Yeah, vintage Britain's Knight. And his jousting rod isn't actually broken, and that's a very delicate piece there. So his arm or jousting rod could have easily been broken off. So luckily that's still there. And this little airplane, which looks, it's World War II era. I don't know if it's got a maker's name on it. It looks like it's a Budgie or maybe a Tootsie or something like that. Like a little bit cheaper, but still that would be from, you know, the Second World War. And just sort of a little variety of vintage train accessories, which I thought were cool. Like this has the grater on the back of the train car. There's an engine. And this was also, right, this was in the basement too. It was one of the only things that wasn't kind of train related. This is an original, I'd say early 70s. I don't know if the date's on it, maybe late 60s even, but that's an original AMT Star Trek USS Enterprise model kit. And I was surprised when I looked inside of it because it's never been built. It still has the instructions, the plastic, it's still in the bags. This is as brand new as it can get. It's got the decals there. So that is original to the 1960s Star Trek Enterprise. How cool to find something like that sitting in a dusty basement that hasn't been touched in all those years. And of course, last but not least, we have all these trains. I'm gonna lay these out so we can have a better look at them. I have no choice. I'm using this, my Alfa Romeo as a workbench, as a table right now. Okay, so we've got some steam engines. We're missing the tender for that one. Hopefully it's in here. There's a little diesel engine. If you find a train engine like this, a lot of times they're not worth a whole pile, especially if they've been used and out of the box. But if you find them and they are brass, well then that's a whole different story. You know it's brass because the whole thing is metal and quite heavy, but the brass engines are worth a pile. An engine like this new might have been $20–$30 or so back in the 70s or so, or 80s, whereas a brass engine might have been $500–$700 back then. So the huge difference in detail and in quality. So always check and see if they're brass. Sadly, none of these were, but I grabbed pretty much every engine that I could find there because that's what people like when you have a train set. It's always the engines are the thing that's the most fun. Look, his little headlights popped off. I can probably just stick that back on there. Doesn't look like it was used a whole lot. It still has the tag on it. So these would be engines that have all the bells and whistles, the smoke, working smoke it looks like. And that's the tender for this one, American Freedom Train. So I'm hoping that I will find, I think this Pennsylvania, no, that one says it's 280. And when they talk about, see it says 280 there, that's the wheel configuration. So 2 up front, 8 in the middle, and 0. So this is a 280 Clementine, and if it's Bachmann, that might be the box for it. If you're ever wondering how trains work, model trains, that's how they define what they are. So we've got some other train cars. So just a pile of stuff in here. I'm going to get this all laid out and then I'll show you what I ended up having. Okay, so everything came out of the box and quite the variety of trains. We have a Tyco, the Chattanooga, that's never been out of the box. It looks like it's brand new still. I did find a tender for a Canadian Pacific train, which might be that one right there. Those two look like they might go together. An 1800 style general sort of train. Box cars, and this one has, it looks like some automated movements where the little guys might go around in there and look like they're shoving stuff out of the box car. All these very detailed little German-made wagons, horse-drawn carts, carriages. There's an apple cart full of apples. So really, really neat stuff. And I'm sure over the years, a person probably spent a pile of money on these, you know, engines in the 90s could have been $100 or more, and you look at it and there's, you know, $500, $600, $700, $800 worth of engines. So pretty interesting assortment of stuff. I do want to clean these things up though and show you what they're going to look like all done, and I think they're going to turn out pretty nice. There we go. With a little bit of cleaning, that Westclox display actually came out very nice. I guess it wasn't mold, thankfully. It was just tons of dust and dirt and debris from sitting on that basement floor for years. But what a nice little thing that will be for somebody who wants to display. It would be perfect for wristwatches on stands or pocket watches. And it's a perfect size to sit on a shelf. You could even put a little light in there if you wanted to. So a really, really cool thing. Heck, I could even put Hot Wheels in there. But it'd be nice to put, always about the Hot Wheels with me. It would be a great thing to put watches in. So that's all cleaned up. And I gave a bit of a wipe down to our book press as well. This paint is probably like 100 years old on here, so it wasn't gonna come up, but all that dust came off. And it does actually work, albeit a little squeaky. It is working. So I think a pretty successful day. All told, I paid the equivalent of $350 US, or about $500 Canadian for all of this. And I think I'll get my money back just on the trains alone. And that'll leave me with a nice book press, little watch display stand, and a few other knickknacks that I can sell or keep or do whatever I want to do with. I'm sure the Star Trek model kit will go over well too. That's got to be a cool and collectible piece. So lots of great stuff today. So thanks very much for watching today's episode. I've got some cleaning up to do as I've made a big mess on top of my car here. But always fun to see what I can dig out of a basement, out of a barn or an attic. And in this case, it was kind of all the above. Guys, if you haven't subscribed, make sure to do that. You can like the video too, if you like these sort of videos. And as for me, I'm going to go inside because it's supper time. We'll see y'all soon. And as always, bye for now.